Hi again, everyone. We are in here with our corporate partner mentor panel at Apprentice University. I'm Angie Merle, Director of Student Engagement. I'm going to introduce who we have in here with us for a moment. These are a couple of our, like I said, corporate partners that have been with us for a while, and we're going to ask them some questions and open it up for anybody else in here that would like to ask any questions. First, we have with us our founder of Apprentice University and president is Ron Brumberger. Paige Merle is our marketing manager and teaches here. And then I'll just say we have Doug Miller with Brightworks and Bob Bierwagon. Bob Bierwagon. I am tongue-tied with MPI Corp.
There you go.
I'm going to let you guys here do a little bit of introductions for yourself in just a moment. Bob and Doug, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start it off. I'm going to ask you a few questions and then have you each take a turn just answering them if you don't mind. I'm going to mute. Wow, I am very tongue-tied. I'm going to mute you all and then you can just unmute yourselves when you come on to answer. So the first thing we'd love for you both to do is to, again, tell us the company you work with, how long you've been with that company, your role with the company, and what's your favorite aspect of your role, and then maybe how long you've just been either a mentor or involved with Apprentice University, and we'll kind of stop it right there for now, if that's okay. Bob, I'll have you go first.
No, you got me unmuted. Okay, great. Bob Bierwagon, I've been at MPI just short of 10 years now. And MPI is a holding company for manufacturing operations within metals across North America. We've got about 12 plants around the country and 2 down in Mexico. We're about half automotive products. The other half are construction products. Things like electrical buses that go into circuit boxes. MPI itself is based in Indianapolis. Our corporate headquarters is at the Pyramids in Indy, and that handles our IT group, our finance group, legal, human development group. And it's been a great organization to work with, about 700 people. We've been involved with Apprentice University for, I'm going to say, about 4 years, Ron? Probably right in that area. And have had, I'm going to say 4 or 5 apprentices at this, probably 5 at this point. We've been fortunate enough to have a couple actually join us in our IT group. In particular, we do peer coding, and Tyler Clark is our most recent addition. We also do a lot of process flow development, training, implementation of software products, particularly our ERP, which is enterprise-wide. And we were fortunate enough to have Justin Moran join us a couple of years ago, and he's really been heavily involved in that process for us. From an intern standpoint, I think one of the things that we really provide and offer is the ability to work with real situations and real people with real products. So the apprentices we've had in have been very much involved in building things that are going to have real impact with real people. And when you look at the digital aspect, which is really what I'm responsible for as VP of Digital Strategy, moving particularly in manufacturing from trying to work with paper, and a lot of processes have been around for a long time, and really streamline that and optimize it. And most companies are in that kind of scenario, but for us, it's really one where we're trying to leverage the new tools and optimize plants going through, and people that understand the digital aspect, the kind of technology that we're trying to move to, as well as how to work with people, how to do discovery with people. That's really a skill set that is completely portable no matter what industry you're in. So our interns have had, our apprentices have had, I think, some real good success and experiences with us.
Thanks, Bob. I appreciate that. And Ron and Bob, both, you might be, it's a crazy thing, but you've actually been involved for, I think, almost 5.5 years now as a corporate partner.
Really? Okay.
Time flies. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. Doug, go ahead.
Hi, so Doug Miller. I'm the CEO of the Brightworks group. We're an IT operations company. we work with small and mid-sized organizations where we basically become their IT function. Our primary offering is an IT platform called Complete Cloud that is designed to provide everything that a company needs for its IT, all the infrastructure from data center to desktop. Our primary customers are in a variety of different industries, but probably the top three we work with are financial services. We also do a lot of work in healthcare. And strictly by the numbers, probably our biggest set of customers come out of the architecture, engineering, construction management fields. So we work with a lot of different companies doing a lot of different things, all around their IT infrastructure. We've been working with Apprentice University. It's about a year now, roughly, that we've come up on it, I would guess, just right at a year. We've had two apprentices. We have our second one right now. And while we haven't been involved long enough for any of those apprentices to join us permanently, certainly that is a very real possibility. The apprentices that we have worked with would be really ideal candidates for us once they finish their time at AU. Neither of the apprentices that we're working with have done that yet. So we'll definitely be interested in pursuing that with those folks who have been apprentices with us. Similar to what Bob said, our apprentices get very involved in very real world kinds of things. They work with our support team and our support engineers. They work with our technical analytics team, where they're helping us perform our ongoing technical assessments of our customers to make sure that all of their infrastructure and IT operations are staying within the guardrails and working the way they're supposed to. They'll work with me on business development, sales, virtual CIO kinds of things, as well as just being exposed on a daily basis to all kinds of problem-solving opportunities. Basically, what we do is we help make sure that organizations' IT functions, and when it doesn't, we have to fix it. So they learn a lot about how to operate proactively to keep problems from ever occurring, and they learn a lot in a very hands-on technical from a hands-on technical perspective about how to solve problems. Beyond that, we're very, very focused on customer service. It's a huge piece of what we do. And so I think probably the thing that maybe is most surprising to our apprentices when they come to us, they come in thinking they're going to do technical things primarily, and they do a lot of technical things, but they spend as much time learning about how to interact with other people, how to provide good and high levels of customer service, how to deal with that user who is frustrated because their VPN isn't working, but they need somebody to walk them through it and get it set up and hold their hand, and it may be the second or third time because that user is maybe not really understanding how to use it, right? So how do we educate them, and how do we make them feel good about that? Right now, they're obviously learning about a lot of things on the fly as companies have moved from offices into remote working, and how do they support that and these people that are home. And in fact, Mason, our current apprentice, is learning about remote working himself because we've all done what everybody else has done, and he's having to work from home, so he's developing that skill set. But it's very, very much hands-on. We treat them as if they were an entry-level employee with our support team. and they very quickly transition into roles where they're acting and interacting with customers in a live fashion, not just, you know, shadowing or filling out forms. They are actually taking support calls and going on site with customers.
Wonderful. Doug, thank you. You actually answered a few more of my questions here.
Okay, sorry.
But that's okay. So let me ask you a series of other ones since you actually started down that path, Doug. The next set of questions is what drew you first? Briefly, if you would tell us what drew you first to becoming a corporate partner with Apprentice University. Each of you actually have been in the mentoring situation, as Doug just mentioned. Bob, you have been an incredible mentor throughout the years. What is your favorite aspect of mentoring, and how? Well, let's hold off there. Okay, so briefly we'll just ask you that. Bob, go ahead.
So probably even a couple years for, well, I guess about the third year I came to MPI, we started an internship program, and we had four students that were in college at that point in time that we brought in for the summer. And same kind of concept that Apprentice University has subscribed to in terms of what we wanted to do was get them in and really start to identify some talent and supplement our team. We had a lot of projects going on, and I've raised 5 kids. My youngest is 26, and I know how important it is when you get out into the real work field and start interviewing to have real world experience. So we wanted to bring that in and make sure that was a component to what we were doing as a company. I very much enjoy working with people that are enthusiastic and excited and want to learn. And when we started talking with Ron about AU, it really seemed a very, very good fit for what we were trying to do. That kind of time in real world experience, as Doug was talking about as well, when you sit down and talk to somebody as a recruiter, you may have the greatest college degree in the world, but when you come in and talk to me, if you don't have any real world experience, that's not necessarily a positive. And from our standpoint, we really feel that experience ultimately overshadows whatever knowledge or whatever education you have, because that's practical application as opposed to head knowledge. And that's much more valuable to companies today. That's really what people are looking for. And I can see Doug shaking his head. Well, that working directly with people is different than just being at school and taking tests and doing learning. So we were very much on board with the concept. From a personal side, I love mentoring. We've done within our internship programs, we got into Covey very early, 7 Habits. We've done that with our Apprentice University folks and tried to take them through that. So it's about understanding what business is about, and it's also about understanding culture. We're very strong on culture. I know Doug is as well. I think you could say that across the board for all the Apprentice University partners. People are a very real part of what we're about. They're key resources to what we do. They're key components to our success, and all the companies, at least that I'm aware of, kind of subscribe to the same kind of concept you guys do, and that is that if you help enough people be successful with what they need, you will be successful for yourself. So it's put your customers first, put your people first, and then the company will gain from that over time. So that's kind of the approach we've taken, and I think we've kind of pretty well walked that talk, so to speak, and that's really what I like about AU. AU is very definitely committed to that talk. So the people we brought in have been very, very successful. We started early on with another high school group, and the first person we had in that group was very good. He was a senior, but we've had some younger people that weren't quite as experienced, and they were kind of overwhelmed. And what we found with AU is that the base education you guys get, whether it's from meeting weekly, from just some of the earlier programs, have really allowed the people we've had involved as apprentices to really come up to speed really quickly. And it's really more of teach them about what the business is about, support them, and we're able to plug them in. And they feel excited because they're not just doing pick and shovel work. They're really involved in making things happen in a positive way for people. And ultimately, at the end of the day, when you go home, you want to feel like, hey, I really contributed in some way. And that is part of what our whole program is about. How can we get people in and help them contribute? And AU has been a great partner for us to be able to do that.
So what Bob said, um, yeah, I really would second a lot of that. Our interest and involvement came from it was talking with Ron about the things he was doing, and the AU approach and what AU is about really meshed very much with my personal interest in developing the workforce of the future, as well as what we at Brightworks need. We are on the operations side of things. We're on the infrastructure side of things. We're not software developers. We're not computer scientists. Our team are the sort of people that if this was the 1950s, they'd be working on cars and repairing radios and maybe that new technology television. They're very hands-on, technical, but not really theoretical kinds of people. They're interested in the nuts and bolts, and so pulling them from a traditional college program is a little bit difficult. We get a lot of people from that direction who do have a lot of head knowledge, maybe have a good solid theoretical background in computer science or informatics, but have never crawled under a desk and needed to wire an Ethernet port, and we do that stuff. That stuff is very, very important in our work. AU is has people who are interested in that. Your students are people that would like to learn about those things. They're interested in the hands-on. They don't want to sit behind a desk. They want to do. So that's very appealing to us. That got us interested. And certainly as we look at our future and where our future workforce is coming from, I'm a big believer in apprenticeship in the traditional meaning of apprenticeship, right? I think that's a thing that we've moved away from in our society. We've moved to everybody needs to go to college. I did it twice. I never worked a day in either degree that I got. I'm glad I went to college. It's a useful thing if you're going to go that direction, but there are people who don't need to go to college, and there are jobs that don't require college degrees. We used to have a thing called the trades. My business falls into the trades in a lot of ways, and the way that you train people in the trades is through apprenticeships. So the whole idea of apprenticeships was very appealing to us, and that was a lot of the reason that we got involved, as well as just the general sense of wanting to give back, helping to develop that pool of people that are out there. Indianapolis, Central Indiana is a very relationship-driven environment. It's very much community here, and you never know, right? There are people that I worked with in my career 30 years ago that I interact with and run into today that have been very instrumental in helping my company, or that we have ended up working to help them. You just never know. So giving back and helping develop that community and making it stronger was a big motivator for us as well. In terms of what I really enjoy the most about mentoring, really a lot of it is just seeing the apprentices come in and watching them change and grow and develop over time as they get exposed to real things. And getting the feedback both from the apprentices and from the people who know the apprentices, their parents, their family, other people, that, hey, you guys made an impact. This was, we've seen it in our family member or our friend or whatever. So even if they, decide not to pursue a career in our field, we know that we've helped make them stronger. We've helped make them better, and that as they go out there into the work world, they're in a better place. They're going to succeed. They're going to do better than they would had they not spent time in AU's program and not spent time with us. So that's really the most rewarding piece, I think.
Thank you both so much. You guys both did an amazing job at answering my questions before I really asked them. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is we have some potential students in here with us, and we're going to go ahead and allow them to ask some questions. I have a feeling maybe Mitch is with us today, and he actually may have some questions for all of you. Caleb and Lucas, if you also have questions, please. This is sort of an ask me anything to these corporate partner mentors. They are here to answer whatever questions you have as they are having our apprenticeships work in their companies. So anybody have anything?
I was wondering if you guys could give an example of like some specific things that the apprentices working with you have done in like recent times.
Bob, I'm going to have you jump in first before Doug, because you've had some apprentices do some different types of things at MPI. They haven't been in the same roles.
Again, our corporate group is a service group, so that can happen in a lot of different ways. But if I take Justin, who really is more involved in process implementation and differentiate that from what Tyler does, who's more of a traditional programmer. From Justin's standpoint, we've just brought up our enterprise ERP, which is an overall business software application, in our biggest operating company. It's 3 locations, 2 in Mexico, 1 here in Logansport, and involved about 500 people. And that process was one where there was a previous system, but we were also trying to optimize a lot of the process changes. So for Justin, he spent a lot of time involved in meetings and discovery, modeling, setting things up within the ERP. And this is more configuration work than development. So most ERPs have a lot of flags. They have a lot of capability to be targeted to do certain things, to have certain behaviors, to have certain rules. So in that process step, there's a lot of interfacing between the customers and what they do today and what they need to do. The executive team and management teams in terms of what we want to do to optimize, and then the working with the tool itself, with the ERP. Now that in and of itself is part of it, but also in that we've got a lot of data to move and transfer. So Justin is particularly good with Excel. He knows how to use it, and he does a lot of great things with it. And he's been one of the people that have been responsible to move the data off the old system. And we've got years and years worth of data and get it in a format that's acceptable in the new system. So instead of having 50 people keying that stuff in, we can get it out of the database, get it into Excel, and upload it in the right format. It saves a tremendous amount of time. So those steps are really an interface where he is operationally working between the people that are doing things, and in literally every other in every discipline we have, which is everything from baseline manufacturing to engineering to accounting to scheduling to quoting and marketing, all of the HR, every function we have in the company and that you'd have in a manufacturing company, he's in some way interfaced with over the last 6-8 months. And we brought that up successfully for February 3rd, and really it was a lot less painful than other implementations that we did. Now, Tyler's also been part of that, and because we do some things that are unique from a manufacturing standpoint, particularly with pricing, we've written a lot of subsystems that hang on to the ERP, but are involved with how we price materials in extensive kind of coding that takes place using the data that's already in our ERP, bringing that in, manipulating it, and then providing reports and data and views back out to the people that actually do the pricing and the costing functions. So in that case, Tyler has interfaced less with the end users and more with guys like Justin and the rest of our process people, our salespeople, in terms of how that pricing happens. Code it, go out and do your traditional coding kind of functions. So there's always some level of involvement with the end user, with the customer, but there's also integration across multiple parts of the company. And the two of them really greatly contributed to this project that we went through and the success of it. So it's been a pretty good. Anytime you change something as major as an ERP, it's a long process, but they've certainly been part of that. I'll give it to Doug.
I don't see them. I was going to add also, because I don't know if all the students were in here when they heard MPI Corp has been with us for over 5.5 years. They have had several other apprentices. He is speaking about Justin and Tyler specifically right now because both of them, when they graduated from Apprentice University, have gone to work for MPI Corp. They've had many other apprentices as well, doing several different types of roles, but those two actually graduated and went to work for MPI Corp. And
yeah, and Angie, to that point, you're right. I apologize for that. I assume everybody knows who those guys are, but they're doing for us full time now what they were doing as apprentices. And again, it was a chance for them to understand what our positions look like when the time came for them to start looking for full-time employment. They'd actually experienced it, and the plus of that is that they know what they're getting into. But there's always a little bit of variation depending on the projects we have going on. Right now, I'm working with data analytics and industrial Internet of Things, which again, some is coding, some is configuration, some is, to Doug's point, actually getting down on the floor and putting in switches and Ethernet connections and sensors and all the rest of it. But I think for all of us, and it's really in evidence today with where we're at, this country needs more people that know how to do things, not how to think about things. And I'm not beating up at anybody that's an accountant or a lawyer or anything else, but we have a lack of people that really understand how to do things. My dad's generation, people actually did their own stuff. They fixed their own stuff. They didn't just call up somebody to go do it. And I think that's one of the opportunities that an apprenticeship in any of the partners provides. Seeing that happen in multiple partners across the time you're at AU is a real plus because it gives you an idea of what you want to do, what you like to do. But from our standpoint, at least in MPI, it's really trying to take digital tools and apply them to user requirements and manufacturing processes to try and optimize that and make them more efficient.
Thanks for that. And Doug, I'll just say, you've already talked about what a couple of the apprentices have been doing for you there at Brightworks. I might throw this at you, since you mentioned again that you've only been there with us for about a year now and have had a second apprentice, and neither one of those are to the point yet that they have graduated and will be getting closer within the next year. But if you might be able to tell these guys what your thoughts are regarding hiring apprentices with the skills that they would have when they come out.
Yeah, if I can click the button. We would, there's just no question, we would preferentially hire AU apprentices. We would preferentially hire apprentices who had already worked with us, but any AU apprentice would already have a really significant leg up in our hiring process. You're a known quantity. We understand both the hands-on experiences that you've had, as well as the classroom work you've had, and I don't want to de-emphasize the importance of that. Classroom work is important, particularly the kind of work that you're doing in AU. You're learning some really important skills there. The problem solving, the entrepreneurship, design thinking. Those are all things that are extremely applicable to the hands-on piece that we need, right? And one of my challenges, particularly with our approach, which is a very white glove, very customer service oriented approach, is that traditional IT people, I almost can't hire. I have to untrain them. The typical IT infrastructure guy is so broken by the way that IT is run in most organizations that it's almost more costly for us to hire an experienced person than it is to hire somebody with no experience and train them. So when you're talking about AU apprentices, I know, regardless of whether they were working with us or not, that they've got a foundation that is going to enable them to be effective for us very, very quickly. I'm not going to be afraid to put them in front of a customer because they know how to deal with the customer, because they've done it. They've had that experience. So yeah, I mean, we very preferentially would hire, if I had two people of, that were relatively equal in age and what appeared to be on paper experience, and one of them was an AU grad and one wasn't, I'm almost certainly going to hire that AU grad.
We greatly appreciate that. Any of you have any other questions for either of them?
I was going to ask, what skills do you want an apprentice coming to your business?
In case you guys didn't hear that, Lucas was saying, what skills are you looking for? And that actually was leading into my next question, which you guys were touching on. Obviously, you have specific skills, like Doug, you just mentioned the specific skills that are needed and so forth. But generally across the board, when you are looking to hire someone, what are you looking for in a candidate overall? Is that, Lucas, would that be what you're asking?
I was thinking more towards them becoming an apprentice at the business. What skills?
Oh, to be an apprentice as our corporate partner when you come into the program. Okay, that's a great one too.
Okay, from our standpoint, we have 3 pillars to our culture, and they're pretty simple in terms of the terms. It's integrity, excellence, and service. So before we bring anybody into our organization, we're going to make sure that, one, they're people of integrity, so character is really in. The service aspect of what we do is absolutely critical. And to Doug's point, people that have been in traditional IT environments, they do tend to get beat up very, very badly. Nobody calls up to say, hey, you're doing a great job and I really appreciate it. They call up and say, my VPN's broke, my internet's broke, I can't get this to work, my PC went down, and I'm not happy about it. So fix it. And that kind of environment, you've got to be able to kind of roll with that. And that's pretty typical for a service function. And that's really what our corporate team in MPI is. We're a service group. So those are the 2 things that are really probably most critical, even more so than technical skills. To Doug's point, when we bring somebody in from AU, we understand the culture that you guys are being trained in. We understand the values that are being communicated by the staff at AU, and that's a definite leg up. But it's a leg up because these are some of the key things that we look at and really evaluate before we ever bring anybody in the door, whether it's an apprentice or a full-time employee. The technical side of it, you guys have an advantage being in your generation because you've never been without the technology. So as opposed to people from my generation or even an older generation like Ron's, you've got potentially a training process that they struggle with it. They just don't get it. They don't understand it. So we're pretty comfortable that if we get the first 2 right, the integrity in the service attitude, that you guys are going to come in and be able to pick up most of what's out there from a technology standpoint. Now, the actual job that you're doing, one of the things I look at when I talk to apprentices are what are you trying to learn about, number one, and what have you done successfully. So there's some advantages in being in a role where you can feel comfortable because you've got some technical knowledge and you can put it to use and get good results out of that. On the other hand, when you look at an apprenticeship program, there's also the opportunity here to stretch yourself beyond maybe something that you're comfortable in. So for somebody that's a traditional coder, if that's all they've done, and you were to and I was to sit down with you, I'd probably want to assess whether it would be a better situation for you to do traditional coding or to get into more things that are more interactive with end users. Now that's a stretch for a traditional core coder. It takes a little bit to get there, but we can help somebody grow in that respect, and that's kind of what we're looking at. So again, the first two are always excellence, not excellence, excuse me, integrity and service. The excellent part we can train you on, and it's just really a question of what you're looking for, and that's where what you communicate to any of the corporate partners will help you understand that. And I can say this, everybody I know within the AU partnership program, they're all interested not just in their companies, but they're interested in helping you guys be successful and grow so that, I think Doug put it, the next generation of workers. I'm in an age where, my mentorship is because these people have to replace me. I got 5 years and I'm probably done with my career. So we're looking at it from a different aspect than what a lot of employers are.
Yeah, I agree with Ron on that front in particular. I'm in the same place. So we're looking for, as I look at an apprentice and what we're after, I'm after people that want to learn, want to grow, want to develop. That's one of the first things that I'm looking at. Are they sponges, right? Are they folks that want to come in and learn? Literally everybody they're going to be exposed to, whether that's a Brightworks employee or a customer, is going to have something to teach them as long as they're open to it. So I'm really very interested to see that they're interested, right? That is a core thing. If I get the impression that the potential apprentice is going through the motions, then it's not a good fit, right? We want people that are really absorbed and passionate and interested. So that's a key skill. Our very first corporate value is no drama. And we mean that from the perspective of both our employees, but also our customers and our customer relationships. So we're looking for people that are, mature enough to conduct themselves in a way that they're adults, right? And we understand apprentices are younger and that we're going to have to help them develop some of that, but we need to see a willingness to that. And that's really our second core value is we hire adults. We want people that are interested in standing on their own 2 feet, that understand that they're accountable, right? We're never going to put you in a position that you're set up to fail. But at the same time, we need to see, and this goes very much along with Bob's integrity view of things. It's very much the same. But you know what? You come in as an apprentice, you're going to make mistakes. We expect our team to own those mistakes and do the right thing. Now, look, the reality is the only way that people really learn is by making mistakes. We expect you to make mistakes. We're going to try and put apprentices in a position where their mistakes are not harmful to them or our customers, but we expect you to make them. At the same time, though, we expect apprentices to say, hey, I made a mistake. How do I learn from that? How do I not have that happen again? How do I repeat that problem? And it's that willingness, right? The technical skills, that's not a problem, right? I mean, I can teach somebody networking. I can teach them PC setup. I can teach them our procedures. We can develop those skills. It's nice when we get an apprentice who has some technical skills. They can start into certain things a little bit faster. But if they don't have the personal side stuff, if they don't have that accountability, if they don't have that genuine curiosity and interest, then teaching them technical skills is never going to turn them into the kind of person that we would like to see, and that I hope all AU apprentices want to be. So, you know, I can't say, well, you know, boy, if you're going to come and work with us, you know, go out there and get your Network Plus. That's a great thing if you've got it, but it's not the core thing that I'm after.
Thank you both for that. Does anyone else have any questions that we haven't covered yet? Ron, did you want to ask anything or add anything to any of this before we stop here?
Sure. Just a quick response from you guys. Bob, Doug, thank you first for spending some time with us this afternoon. My question would be, when you think about the employee of the future, what are the top 2 or 3 attributes that you imagine that employee is going to possess?
So I think one of the number one skills that we're going to have to see, and we're already seeing it, and I think the recent situation that we're in is only causing it to be more important. And it's a little bit of a buzzword that we've heard for a lot of years, but the ability to truly collaborate across, both within the organization, but across organizational lines. Organizations today aren't the monolithic things that they used to be. All organizations bring in people from contractors and consultants, and they're allied with other companies, and very often you're working with even your customers on things that are collaborative. So developing that skill set, knowing how to collaborate with other people, and understanding that, okay, that doesn't mean I'm always going to get my way. I've got to learn to listen. I've got to learn to hear what other people are saying, and then bring some real value to that collaboration, right? That's where I think things like design thinking, entrepreneurship, those pieces that you're getting trained about, the creative problem solving, those are all significant aids to that process. But learning to not do that in isolation, and also learning to do it on the fly, right? One of the things that I think people are getting hit with right now, more so than they ever have, and it's only going to get more this way in the future, is things happen fast, right? Nobody expected what's going on right now to be going on. So how do you adjust to that? How do you quickly land on your feet and work with other people to get there, okay? So I think that's absolutely crucial. The other thing, and I'm not going to talk a long time about this, but it is the thing that I have found throughout my career is the most important, and it's going to be the most important into the future. You have to be dependable. You have to do what you said you were going to do. If you can do that consistently, regardless of everything else, you're going to be really successful. Far too few people consistently do what they say they're going to do. But if you can be dependable, you're always going to be of value.
Yeah, they've come up in a couple different ways. But I think one is, and this speaks to dependability, you need to be a self-starter. You can't wait for somebody to feed it to you. And along with that goes you need to have a pretty active curiosity about things in general, and you need to be willing to go out and continue to learn. In the old days, it used to be people came out of school and they said, oh, good, I'm done with college. I don't have to do school anymore. That's not the reality. The rate of change of technology today, I mean, what you guys are going to see in the next 40 years, when I look at my career, I started out on punch cards up at Purdue, and look at where we're at today. That's peanuts compared to what you guys are going to see. So there's going to be new tech coming out every year, every other year. and you need to have that curiosity about it. You need to have the desire to learn, and you need to be self-starting within that context. To me, those are kind of the base processes. If you can take that and add to that the context of critical thinking, which is taking all of this data that is coming at us from tons of directions. I mean, from a social media standpoint, you guys are immersed in, you've never known an environment where you didn't have 14 different channels of data coming at you. And that's all well and good, but again, it's knowledge. The key is, how do you be self-starting enough to take all that and say, hey, here's a new thing we can do, and do that in collaboration with a team of people. It's grabbing all of this new stuff that's coming on constantly, being able to think about it critically, and then being able to work with a team of people and be self-starting enough to make sure you kind of rinse and repeat that process, right? Those are the people that have got it made. Not got it made, but those are the people that will be successful going forward. Businesses are built every day because somebody, actually, there's, I don't know if you've seen the FedEx commercial where they've got the robot that goes along and delivers boxes from house to house to house, right? I can't think of the guy's name that does that, but he put it very well. He said, I don't build technology. I don't come up with these new ideas. But what I do uniquely, and he is world renowned, is grab all of those ideas and put them together into something that has practical application. And he's done it wonderfully. And that's the opportunity you guys have. You don't have to be, you go back and look at IT. You needed somebody that knew how to code, somebody that knew firmware. So much of this today is grabbing ideas and technology and putting them together to come up with something new. It's really applying the technology. That, to me, is where the real opportunity lies in your generation and what lies ahead. And again, if you are willing to, be aware of what's happening, think critically about it, be self-starting enough to try and bring those kind of ideas up and generate ideas and work with people collaboratively to get it done, your generation has a huge opportunity here.
Thank you both so much. Again, we just want to, we love our partnership with you both, love continuing it. And as always, you are wonderful to work with and are always here for our students, and great to have you on. Thank you so much for giving up your time. We're not going to keep you any longer. You guys are busy, have things to do. So thank you very, very, very much for doing this. And students, we'll see you later on tonight for another version with the apprentices at 5:30.